Good morning, students. Today is Friday, May 1st. We're finally to May. Today's story is about Jeremiah the prophet, and I'm going to read it to you. One day, God spoke to Jeremiah. "I have chosen you to be my prophet." Jeremiah was afraid. "I am only a boy," he said. "I won't know what to say." "I will tell you the words," God said, touching Jeremiah's lips. "Even before you were born, I chose you." God showed Jeremiah a branch of an almond tree, which is the first tree to bloom in the spring. Jeremiah knew then what God meant. He would make Jeremiah's work blossom like the almond tree. Then God sent Jeremiah to a potter's house. Jeremiah watched as the potter formed a jar of clay on his wheel, but the jar was lopsided, so the potter took wet clay and reshaped it until at last it was whole and perfect. "My children are like clay in my hands," God said. "If they let me, I will make them whole and perfect." Jeremiah served the Lord as a prophet for 40 years and tried to teach people how to live and be shaped by God's love. Dear God, thank you for giving purpose to everyone's life, including mine. I want you to think on this story today. There are a couple things that are important about the story. The first is that God told him, "Before you were born, I chose you." And this story is not just about Jeremiah, it's about all of us. Before all of us were born, God chose us. I also want you to know that he called God when he was a child, not when he grew up and he was wise and had all his education. He was a child, and God knew that a child could understand important things, that a child could listen for God, that a child could use their intuition. That means that ability when you just know something to tell the world how much they are loved and to heal the world. I also want you to think about the fact that God showed Jeremiah the potter, that God promised that God shapes us like that potter until we are whole and perfect. And perfect doesn't mean that you get everything right. In fact, that kind of perfection, sometimes people say it's the enemy of the good. Right? Because if you're always looking at something and trying to make it more perfect, then you're not enjoying what you have. The kind of perfect that God is talking about in this story is wholeness. God can make you complete and at peace and fully aligned with who you are. That's what God does. And it's not up to the pottery, to the piece of pottery, to become perfect and whole. God just will shape us if we trust that God will do so. The other piece of this story that I want you to think about is that Jeremiah was a prophet for 40 years. And whenever a number is given in a story in the Bible, we know that it symbolizes something. And 40, remember 40 days in the desert, 40 years Noah was on the boat, 40 years the Israelites were in the wilderness, right? 40 is a number for transformation. If we listen, if we use our intuition, transformation happens. You don't have to grow up to use it. You don't have to grow up to be shaped. God is using you now, and God is shaping you now. Have a great day.